The reason I paint so many beautiful women in all of their forms is because I wanted people to feel like my art is a safe space for them and that they feel seen and feel joy in themselves, and it's like a mirror reflecting them.
That's Ragni Agarwal. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies podcast. You know, there's so much going on in the world, and I don't know if we as a collective truly realize how hard it is to be an artist in today's climate, especially when you're female, when you're a person of color, when you're perceived as an immigrant, even when you're not, and when you're out there being vulnerable and expressing yourself and ideas that others will always have opinions about, and they don't hesitate to share them. Then layer on mental health and maybe neurodivergence and just trying to survive. All of that is just a part of what makes today's guest, Ragni Agarwal, such a badass. She's an Indian American fine artist and graphic designer based in Los Angeles. Her work is vibrant. Think hot pinks, purples, orange, and large. They're emotional and powerful. She's worked with notable brands such as Hulu and Bombay Sapphire, and her work has shown in multiple groups and solo exhibitions. She's fabulous, as I guess she would be, as she was referred to us by one of my favorite incredible humans, Shaheen Sikh-Sadal. We talk about thriving and surviving as a working artist, the layers of nonsense we're facing today regarding immigration and people of color in America, and why art is so needed to tell the stories that must be told and are often being silenced, as well as simply for pure joy. Wishing you joy from this episode. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm, first of all, very excited that your glasses match my jacket today. That's always a great sign.
Yeah.
Animal print for the win every day.
Always.
And then I'm also really excited because we got connected by the amazing Shaheen. How do you know Shaheen?
Well, I've known Shaheen for almost 20 years now, and we met through my best friend Samatha, who I believe back then was helping her with music or might have been her manager. Don't quote me on the exactness of that, but through Samatha.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Shaheen and I got connected through women in a networking group that we're a part of. And we hadn't been at the same group. And this one woman was like, you guys need to know each other. And since we got connected, it was like, of course I need this amazing powerhouse in my life who's changing the world. And it's been such a pleasure to have her in my circle. And
yeah, she's amazing.
She's incredible. And anyone who's listening, you can go and find her podcast episode as well. We'll link it in the show notes. But I come back to you. So let's tell everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
My name is Ragni Agarwal. I am based in Los Angeles, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist and designer. My background is in graphic design. I've been a graphic designer for many, many, many years, and I still do that. And I've always created and done art. And then about, I would say now, like 5 to 6 years ago, I also transitioned into doing that professionally as well.
Mm-hmm. On your Instagram account, you have this great post that's a picture of you next to graffiti that says, buy art and save a crazy person.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What does that mean to you? Why did you love that enough to make it one of your pinned posts?
Well, truth be told, I actually came back to art because of my mental health. I had been working in tech for years, and it did a lot for me, but it also like I lost myself a lot during that time. And I honestly started illustrating again just to deal with my own mental health and as a form of therapy. I really didn't think it would become a career. And I do think that in this current climate we're in, like politically, also in LA with the just the economics of it all, you have to be a little crazy to be a creative because it's hard. It's a really hard field to be in. And you also are putting yourself out there constantly. So you have to have a really thick skin as well. And so when I saw that, I immediately was like, yeah, this is it. This is the whole thing.
Well, and last night I was at my friend was part of a group showing at Lucky Cat Gallery on Main Street in downtown LA. And it was a really big crowd of artists that were all contributing to the show. And seeing the variety of how the different artists were dressed and their demographics and like who they were bringing in as like friends to like see the art and come through everything. It was such an eclectic mix of ages and ethnicities and genders and art styles. And I do think that there is a really interesting space right now for creatives in LA. Not that it's easy, right? I'm fully on board with you that it's a bit cuckoo to, or just like there's a level of to be an entrepreneur of any kind, creative or not, there's a level of delulu that has to exist.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's even harder to choose to go out on your own in Southern California because the basic cost foundations are just so astronomical to other places in the world. I heard a stat the other day that $120,000 a year puts you in the top 10% of global wealth. And in Orange County, the new low income line is $100,000. And you're like, what?
It's actually insane because I think it's similar in LA, and I'm like, that's insane because that no one, that's so few people.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So how do you balance creating art because you want to, have to, and then balancing the fact that you need to eat?
I don't know if I'm doing it well, but uh, I'm not gonna lie, this year has been a particular struggle since the fires and just I think the entertainment industry kind of guides the creative like ethos of LA, and it's kind of a changing field right now.
Mhm.
Um, so it has been kind of a struggle. Like I had some big projects lined up in January that got canceled. I've been kind of just scrambling, trying to find more design work. But for me, it's interesting because my two careers, which are design and art, are AI is kind of coming for both of them. So I'm like, I have no other skills, you know? So this is what I have to bring to the table. But I do think that it is also an opportunity. There is somewhat of an opportunity to like, if you don't think like everyone else and you have like new ideas of how things can be done, then you do have, there is a space for that. It'll obviously take a second for that to find its footing, but yeah, there's a reason I tattooed resilience on my arm, so I never forget that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think there's an illusion sometimes that if you're an employee, it's safer. Um, Freedom is such a value of mine that when I think of employment and working for somebody else, I just think of all the restrictions and not like this. The stability isn't. It's an illusion in an employment environment where I feel like when you're in control of your destiny and you're in control of finding projects and like you can be proactive, like when you have authority over it, Even though there's lots of resiliency needed and lots of ups and downs, there's a different level of, um, I don't know, like maybe assurance of like, yeah, like I'm in charge, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, but we're gonna make it happen because that's what we know how to do. You've had, oh, go
Yeah.
ahead, sorry.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Well, and you've had some incredible brands that you've done projects and collaborations with. That must have been very rewarding when you got to put some of those names on your CV and portfolio.
Yeah, it's really cool when a brand reaches out, and especially a brand that you already have products from or you like a lot. So it's really exciting, and you know that for better or worse, that's kind of how our world is. Like you can create all the art, but if someone sees that, oh, you did this or you did that, they are more likely to like engage with your work and
Mhm.
buy from you. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
mentioned before the political climate that we're in and what's happening, and I would say at a global level, just not even a national level. How does that inform your art and your approach to what you're creating?
I think it's really hard as an artist to ever separate yourself from that climate because A, it affects my own personal mental health all the time just to see everything. And then Um, B, a lot of my art was created. The reason I paint so many beautiful women in all of their forms is because I wanted people to feel like my art is a safe space for them
Mhm.
and that they feel seen and feel joy in themselves. And it's like a mirror reflecting them. And I will continue to do that as long as people are feeling oppressed and like they're being erased from
Mhm.
the world, then my art's gonna remind them that we need them here
Yeah.
and that they should take up space.
When did you realize that you had a talent and or a passion for creating?
I always have done some sort of creative thing since I was a kid. Like my dad is a very creative person. Um, both of my sisters are really creative. I think my dad, he's a doctor, but he has like a poet soul. He's just so I grew up in that, but then
Mhm.
I I I think everyone has talent. I think that anyone can truly be an artist. I truly believe that. I think that we're just scared to try or nurture it. And it's a practice. Like I got better at painting because during the pandemic, I hadn't painted in almost 15 years till I was only doing like digital art. And then when I got to the pandemic, I literally made myself paint for at least 10 minutes a day for almost 2 years straight.
Mhm.
So it was a practice. And
Yeah.
I got better because I did it every day.
My client, Andrew Pedersen, who's been on this podcast too, is one of our powerful gentlemen. It enrages him when people talk about like God given talent. He's like, I work my ass off to draw and paint. Like,
Yeah. And it's not like anyone can have talent, I feel like,
mhm.
It's really about what you want to do and like how much time you give to it.
Yeah. Um, I love how colorful and bold your art is. Like looking at your art, like it just so much of it just makes me happy. Like I the color palette that you kind of go back to is my favorite color palette. Like when people ask me what's a favorite color, I'm like, can I give you a whole palette? Because they have to work together. Because like orange or yellow are colors that I don't like on their own. But if they're next to pink or a red or something else, I'm like, ooh, now I like them. Like they belong.
Yeah.
um, what is your relationship to colors that you love coming back to or the palette that you choose for yourself?
I love color. I think that's really evident. I try so many different palettes. For me, again, when I started going back to art about 5, 6 years ago, I was in a really dark place and I was very depressed. So I truly used color as therapy.
Mhm.
So when I was feeling really dark, it just helped me to play with color to really like trick my brain into not feeling so dark. And I I don't know, since I was a kid, I've been saying my favorite color is pink. So it makes me very happy, just purely aesthetically. So I just love it. Like even right behind my computer is like where I put all just like things that inspire me. And I use pink
Mhm.
tape for everything.
Mhm.
Um, it just brings me a lot of joy. But I think also for a while, like I'm an elder millennial, and I think that design, art, everything was getting very gray and neutral. And I just didn't feel happy in that. So I was also trying to bring color back too and
Mhm.
say that I think there's a lot of rules placed on like whether things are like mature or like posh or any stuff like that based on color, which I think is so weird and arbitrary.
Mhm. Here, I'll give you a
Yeah.
little preview. I don't know if you can, unfortunately, the listeners can't see this, but like there's so much pink on my wall.
I love
And,
that. I love that.
and even if it's not in the big pieces, it's like details in all the small pieces. Um, and growing up, I was a girl who was like so anti, I've always been anti like whatever box people wanted to put me in. I didn't like, not that I would ever call myself rebellious, but was like resistant. And so when I was a kid, I was like, pink is so gross and horses are so stupid and like ballerinas vomit. Like I was just so anti the traditional things that girls were told to like and do. And, you know, in my maturing process, like it's been a whole new rebuilding with the color pink, which sounds so bizarre to say out loud, but it's been like I think is when I was little, I was always like these light pinks, these like soft pinks. But for me, like it's the hot pink. Like give me the hot pink, the neon coral. Like I want things that feel energizing. Like
Yeah.
it's I like rooms that are white and calm and peaceful too at some point, but then I'm like, cool, can we just put like one hot pink thing over here? And then the room feels like it's okay.
Yeah, like, and this is no shade to neutral stuff. I also sometimes like I have a calm room too. I like that. It was just that like everything was becoming so homogenous that it's
Mm-hmm.
like need to bring back personality. Like we can make our own choices of what we like.
Yeah.
And actually the pink thing I think is like really common because it was really shoved down our throats in a very gendered way.
Mm-hmm.
And that like I don't like pink because I'm a girl. I just like pink because it's a color, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that with a lot of my friends too, that they're like reclaiming pink and I'm like, I love that.
As an elder millennial, what were key shows, books, moments of your childhood that you think have been really influential on you from like pop culture?
I mean, I still only watch like 90s television. I love Living Single. It's my go-to show. It's always on repeat in my house. It just brings me joy. And I like friendship, so any show about friends I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I look, this is gonna age me, but I love sitcoms. Why do we have so few sitcoms now? Um, I like the simplicity of it and I like to laugh. And I feel like they don't make comedy anymore. Everything's so dark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I love music. I music's my first love. That not I don't have musical talents in that I nurture, but it inspires all my art. And I think the first tape my dad ever bought me was Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody. And I always tell my friends I crack up because I didn't have a tape player, but I had a Teddy Ruxpin,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
used to play that in my Teddy Ruxpin. And I love Whitney, so
The
yeah,
idea of Teddy Ruxpin singing as like being the face of Whitney Houston is its own comedy skit
it was the
because his
best.
mouth would move when the tapes were playing.
I
Oh,
know.
that's so
And
good.
I wish my mom had say that. But yeah, that was my, I would just walk around the house with my Teddy Ruxpin
hmm
blasting Whitney.
That's going to be a core memory that I'm taking away from today for sure. You've mentioned coming back to your art. We've mentioned how mental health has been such a component. We've mentioned how it's so important to you to represent all the different types of women that you see in your art. We've talked about how politics plays into it, mostly from a reasons to make art in opposition to that madness. Do you feel like there is a shift happening in the creative community? And I'll frame this up to kind of what maybe I'm hoping for, and I'm asking you if you think it's happening. I'm amazed, being someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, that there isn't more of like a punk rock, grunge, alternative approach to like what's happening right now. I'm like, where, like, this is the time for Rage Against the Machine. Like, where are those voices? Like, like NWA, like, where are those voices right now? Like, like, I feel like there's a disconnect happening between art and what's happening culturally and politically. And I'm mystified that, like, right, this should be like the energizing moment for art, music, other things. I'm starting to see it in artists. I'm not seeing it as much, at least what I've been exposed to from a musical side, which is where I think it kind of historically has come from first, maybe in the past couple of decades. But how are you seeing, and are you seeing creatives shifting what they're doing to speak out about what they think is wrong or right and kind of how things should be?
I personally am seeing it. I'm just seeing it in smaller scale and in quieter groups because I think people are also really concerned for their safety
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of these groups that I'm seeing it. Like I just went to the most beautiful trans activists. They were all Muslim performance and they were like, no cameras, nothing, because everyone's really concerned about their rights being taken away. So I see it happening all over. It's just that it's not really on the internet or
Mm-hmm.
social media as much, but it is happening. I think once you start seeking out those groups, you will find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think like the bigger push towards it will come. I think that some of these bigger artists need to be more political in what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, you
Yeah.
know?
Safety's been a big thing that's have been talked about in the Powerful Ladies community, in my group coaching community. We had pulled a couple of women, Shaheen was one of them, to kind of get a pulse on things a couple of months ago. And we recently were inviting people to come and be on a panel for our Powerful Conversation series, talking about our civic rights and what we can do. And I've never had people say no to participating other than like, oh, it doesn't fit my schedule. I'm not available right now. But we had, of all the people we reached out to, we got 2 who were a yes, which is shocking. And everyone else said, no, I don't feel like I'm in a position to speak up right now. And these are powerful women, many of whom are lawyers. And when we went back and looked at who we had invited a lot of people who I didn't think about it at the time. They're just picking like incredible voices in this space. And many of them were first generation or naturalized citizens. And they were like, no, I have to protect myself and the people who I represent. So I can't talk about this right now, but here's my 2 cents that I will email or text you privately about. And it was really just heartbreaking to me that that's the place we're in right now. How are you are you feeling safe? Are you not? What are you doing to kind of be bold and cautious at the same time?
I mean, I think I'm a pretty privileged person, and also I am a citizen. I Yes, I am first generation, but now after many years, my parents are also citizens. So I I don't feel that inherent lack of safety, but yes, when I'm out and about, I never used to ever feel not safe. Now I do. Like
Hmm.
I am more cautious and I will look around at who's around me.
Hmm.
Um, I I do find myself being a little bit more cautious about what I talk about and how I talk about it. But I also think I am like trying to look for more projects and look
Hmm.
for more gigs. And it sucks because I also don't want to censor myself. And I am an artist. So I try to maybe instead of like reposting or being so blatant that way, I will put it into my art. And so
Hmm.
you will know exactly where I stand on things, but I may not just write it out word for word, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I never.
overall, yeah.
Go ahead. Overall, what?
No, I was gonna say overall, like I do feel safe in the like short term, maybe not so much in the long term.
Hmm. Yeah, I never predicted having the thoughts and conversations that have happened in the past 6 months of are we safe? Who's safe? What rights do we still have as women? Which ones do we not have? Like, it's so bizarre and it's so frustrating because it's such a waste of a conversation because we shouldn't be going backwards and we have bigger things to fix. Like, there's so many hungry people and so many unhoused people and so many climate issues. Like, there's just so many other things that need all of our attention and skill sets. Um, that it's just kind of enraging that we're having to, jump back decades, if not centuries, about what's going on.
Yeah. And I think also I think people in my age group kind of I think we didn't really you don't really realize how not long ago all that stuff was because if it was so easy for it to just be like reverting back to like it wasn't that long ago and also like America's kind of new.
Hmm.
So we're still in that like I don't know. I just don't think a lot of people's minds shifted that as much as we thought they did.
Yeah. Well, when you think about the words powerful and ladies, how do you define them? And do their definitions shift when those words are put next to each other?
Um, Not necessarily. When I think powerful ladies, I think ladies are inherently powerful. I don't think we view power in the way that lots of people view power. I think power comes from really being able to lean into yourself and take up space and be loud about what you want to be loud about, get angry about what you want to get, not being afraid of your anger, and really fighting for what you believe in. And also, like, just mostly taking up space.
Mm-hmm. When you're not creating art, how are you spending your time? How are you getting inspired?
I like to go and see art all the time by other people. That really inspires me. I love music. I love going on walks. I take my stupid my stupid walk for my stupid mental health. I try to do that. Well, I don't do it daily, but I try to. And I love like I can't walk by a flower without like smiling and staring at it. Um, and my people. I like to really spend time with my people. They really inspire me. I'm surrounded by a lot of amazing, beautiful women and men, and they're awesome.
Speaking of your people, like how have you built and curated your community and what do you give to it to keep nurturing it?
I I make friends really easily, so I've been kind of lucky in that I've met a lot of my friends organically out and about. I have best friends that I've like they've come to my art show as guests and then we ended up becoming best friends. One of my best friends, I honestly lost my friends at a concert and just ended up standing next to this other person and then we became best friends. Um and then I have old friends like Samantha from college and I think I will say that post pandemic, like it is harder for us to like get together and do as much as we used to before, but we still do make an effort to like see each other like at least like once a month, if not more. And we have our text groups that we keep in touch with and we're just like I think like more than like actually like being there every day. It's like when there are things that really matter, I know that I have a solid foundation of people I can turn to, and they know they have the same.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Your art occurs to me as both like powerful and expressive, but also very vulnerable. How have you embraced being vulnerable in your life, in your art? And what advice would you give to other people about being vulnerable in whatever it is that they're up to?
I think for a lot of my life, I thought it was weak to be vulnerable and that I couldn't really express any of the hard stuff I was going through. And honestly, making my art and putting it out there kind of just forced me to be real with myself and then with others. And then I saw that like other people, as soon as I started posting about my mental health, other people were like, oh, I feel this too. Oh, I also feel this. And I'm like, why are we all so together in our aloneness, you know? And I think that the biggest thing art has brought me is freedom to be vulnerable. And it's still hard. There's still stuff that I get scared to share about. And I'm learning, like I also don't want to share everything with everyone, but
Yeah.
I do think that there is power when you're going through hard times. As soon as I start telling my community about it, I do see more abundance coming in. I do see more opportunities coming in because people do want to be there for each other and they do want to help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people would love to be professional artists and professional creatives. And they're really scared because they've been told the trope of the starving artist. And there's so much competition and it's really hard. And, I think that we have to kind of listen to ourselves a bit and jump into what we kind of can't not do sometimes. But what advice would you give to other people who want to be a professional creative and artist?
I think that we live in a really different landscape now. So there are more doors that are making it easier to be an artist. And then also, look, there sometimes you might start, but also um a lot of fields are hard. It's not just
Mhm.
art. Anything you want to do well might be hard, really hard at times. So
Mhm.
you might as well work really hard and try at something that gives you joy and makes you feel good. And like I said, I think everyone is an artist. I truly believe that if you want to be an artist, you can be an artist.
Mhm.
It's scary. And I think the hardest part is just like getting started. And if you want to start while you have a job and you want to do other things, do that too. You don't need to like drop everything and just
Mhm.
go for it. You can start being an artist and put just making art while having another job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We ask everybody on the podcast where you put yourself on the powerful lady scale. If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you put yourself on that scale today and on an average day?
I mean, I think I'm like at like a 6 today. Um, on an average day, it's hard. Some days I really feel like 1. Some days I do feel like 10. So I don't know if there's a a real average. So I'm gonna stick with about 5 or 6. I think since being in my 40s, I do feel more often powerful than not.
Mhm.
I think in my 30s and 20s that would have been a lot more ones and twos. But yeah, now I think it's mostly above 5 most of the time.
What's changed for you crossing that decade?
I mean, I care a lot less about what other people think. Um, and it is only since my late 30s and 40s that I started really pushing myself in the arts,
Mhm.
and making art really freed me from a lot of that.
Mhm.
And sharing my own story with people and being a lot more honest about who I am. Yeah.
Freedom is so powerful.
So powerful and hard. It's really hard to get there because there are a lot of systems in place that don't want women to speak up, and they don't want women to have freedom. So it's hard.
Well, and I think it's I was having this conversation recently with another podcast guest about how when you start living in alignment with where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing, and you're kind of choosing like that extraordinary path for yourself, the bravery isn't often in choosing that first step, like, oh no, I need to be an artist. It kind of comes in the choices that are after that. Like what habits don't fit in that new life, what people do or don't, what, you start weeding your life and looking at what really belongs in this new, very cool, very exciting space I'm creating. But like the old life doesn't always fit. And it can be really confronting when you have to ask yourself, like, oh, maybe I don't want to go to that restaurant anymore or be in that friend group, like, or, for some people, it's even like drinking alcohol. Like, there's something that you kind of go, oh, I don't know if that's for me anymore. And that's where I think some of the bravery really starts to show up of choosing yourself again and again, because it's hard to make those change is hard. And then making choices where you're declaring change, even harder.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, I think for years, I did a lot of things that I just did because I didn't want to lose the people in my life, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I was very untrue to myself.
Yep.
And that has been really hard, but it's also like really beautiful. So it doesn't feel as hard as you might think it would. And then the other thing going back to being an artist is like, also don't go into being an artist thinking it's going to be the most glamorous thing, because it's most of the time, 90% of the time, it is not. So,
No, I worked in footwear apparel, like streetwear mostly in sport fashion before the things I'm doing now. And everyone outside was like, "Oh, it's so glamorous. You're traveling and you're hanging out with these different collaborators and athletes." And I'm like, that is 5%. Like the travel was high, but like, did I want to go to China 4 times a year or Vietnam or be on an airplane for a month straight? No.
Yeah.
No, that would have been my first choice. Um, yeah, and I think it's so true. Like so many of these career paths that we put this glamour element to, like, oh, you must just make art and go to parties all day long. And you're like, no, I still need a spreadsheet.
Yeah. I still have to do all the business things, which
hmm
I personally don't love, but do. And then I'm also like, you're in your studio creating a lot, and that's like a
hmm
lot of hours alone,
hmm
which is not sometimes really fun. And sometimes like, you're like, I need to see a human now and
Yeah.
over it too. So,
That's why I'm such a big believer that people need coaches and they need communities because it's not common that you're surrounded by other people who are also entrepreneurs or artists or whatever the thing is. And we're so good at being mean to ourselves and thinking that we're behind or not keeping up or not doing enough or whatever the thing is. And then when you are in a group where you can talk to other people who are, whether even if they're in phases before or after you, if they can still talk about what's going on, because it really doesn't matter how much money you're making. You still have to ask yourself the same questions all the time. And it's so refreshing to hear someone else be like, oh, yeah, like whatever, even dumb things like why we're irritated about Instagram changing the algorithm again. Because no, I don't want to change my marketing strategy every 3 months. Thank you. Like, that's,
exactly.
we're here to be doing our thing and being in our zone of genius, which is usually not also Instagram expert. So it's
Yeah,
we need our villages.
we do. And that's something I've been doing a lot more of this year, which is like my three of my friends and I formed a little collective that we get together once a week to just talk ourselves through our own individual
hmm
like business and art goals,
I
just to
love
like
that.
be cheerleaders and encourage each other. And then also just like it helps when someone else is like, did you get it through this week? Because there's only so much self accountability you can do
Mhm.
before you burn out.
Well, yeah, and it's a really weird environment too if you've gone through a traditional education system, whether you went to college or not. Like we're constantly in this system of like perform and then be graded, perform and have a test and get evaluated and get feedback, whether it was good or bad feedback, right? But we were constantly
Yeah.
being told like where we were ranked or tracking or something. And then when you suddenly don't have a boss, you're like, huh, am I, how am I doing? Does, are we okay? Is this enough? Is this like, and yeah. And because there's so much noise about what business should be and what it should look like and what marketing should be and how we have to sell, like there's so much noise for entrepreneurs right now and self-employed people that it always feels like we're not doing enough when most of that noise is complete nonsense.
Oh yeah.
And
It,
like that just drives me crazy.
it drives me nuts. Like you open Instagram for 1 minute and you're literally told 20 ways in which you should be doing everything differently or better. And I'm
hmm
like, can you stop? Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just let me live.
Have you gone through the process that like a lot of other people I know have been really like clearing out like who they're following and like what noise they're letting in? Like, how do you like monitor and assess that like every once in a while? Or like, how are you protecting yourself and your business and like the little bubble that we have to create to survive?
I mute a lot of stories, a
Yeah.
lot of stories. I I try. Not always successfully. It really depends on my mood, but I try really to be more of an like an active user. So if
Mhm.
I'm spending more time on Instagram, it's because I'm like creating my own reels or whatever, less scrolling. Um,
Mhm.
and now I do, like when I turn on Instagram, like I will actually just go look for specific people that I want to see rather
Yeah.
than just scroll or like go
Mhm.
through stories. I think that's also made it easier.
What do you think is the best thing that you've done for your business, whether it was a sales technique or a marketing technique that's really helped you get clients, get business, kind of move things forward?
I mean, for better or worse, I have gotten a lot of my work through Instagram. But I will say that like when I tell more of my story and
Mhm.
why I make the art, it will always do a lot better than just putting the art up there because I
Mhm.
think art, I mean, yeah, you can see something on Instagram and love it, even if it's a great piece of art, but a lot of times you have to see it in person. You want to feel it, you want to like see the textures and all of that. So I think what works online is storytelling. And then obviously, I think like whenever I do an in-person event, I just like end up doing a lot better because art is really tactile. So,
I mean, that's my biggest advice for all of my clients. Like, I think modern business owners, entrepreneurs, like, there's such a wish that we could hide behind the computer and just send out a newsletter and send out some emails and it works. But like having a direct selling relationship building component is so important. Like most of us don't need even 100 clients in a year. And there's so much of the digital marketing that is really built towards low price, high volume type of business. And for most of us are in a higher price, more relational, value based business. And to your point, we have to like be among our people and like talk and feel connected because people want to buy from people they trust and they find interesting. And like there's a really especially like there's a theme I think for successful businesses right now where you not only want to buy from them, you want to be their champion. You maybe want to go to dinner with them. Like you want the real, like the relationship, and not that we have to go to dinner with all of our clients, but like client vetting is like, would I want to go on vacation with this person? That's when I'm like, yes, that they're allowed in. And I don't go on vacation with all my clients, but it's the approach of like, do I know them enough? Do we share values? Do I actually want to spend time with them? Because mine's a lot of very time heavy type of business. But I think even for artists, like they want to know who you are. They want to the stories and the why behind things matter so much. Even vetting people for our podcast, right? Like Shaheen referred you, which when you get a magical referral of that capacity, like it's like, oh, pass through to go.
yeah,
But we still had to be like, who is this person before we talk to you? And because you had done such a great job of on your website and on your Instagram talking about what you stand for and why these things matter to you, like I could get an essence of you through what you had put online that made me go like, oh hell yeah, I want to talk to this person. And
thank
I think
you.
you're welcome. I and you should be proud because I think it's actually really hard for a lot of creatives to do. And usually the ones I'm coaching, I'm like, talk about yourself. You're so cool. And it's like, we want to talk about the art. I'm like, people will buy the art if they love you first.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while to learn that because I would just post the art, the art. I'm like, why is
Hmm.
this not doing one? It's like, oh, people want the story, you know?
Yeah.
You need to tell the story. That's like, why did you make the art?
Hmm. And not that I want people to be inauthentic, but I'm willing to bet even if you just made up a bunch of bullshit stories about why you made the art, that would still be more effective than just not telling the story at all.
Yeah.
Um, because it's a connection thing, especially for art. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, I'm sure you have, about how much the art market is like flipping on its head right now.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to sell a Picasso or a Monet right now than it is to sell things under $20,000. And, again, aligning with my maybe more grunge approach to things and punk rock approach, I love that because it tells me that people are looking for things that stories and people they relate to and artists, like they want to support that community. And I love that because they're not just collecting from an asset perspective. It's a much more emotional collection experience. So I'm happy that that's how the art world is pivoting a little bit. But I also know that something crazy, like less than 5% of people in the US have an original piece of art in their home.
Yeah, and it makes me really happy that this shift is happening because I always approached art, maybe because I came to it later from a very non-traditional POV anyways. Like, I don't really want to necessarily go down the traditional route of a gallery and all of that because of the inaccessible. Like, a lot of my clients and a lot of the people that fuck with my art are like younger and they don't have a lot of money, and I don't want them to not be able to buy my art. So I'm always going to make art at a lot of different price points. And if that doesn't make me like bougie to be in a gallery, then so be it, because I think art's for everyone. And I don't want to ever like separate myself from that. Like, I might sell stuff that is quite pricey, but I will always sell like $40 prints too.
Yeah. Art for the people.
Yeah.
This is a group that loves to support, make crazy things happen, cheer people on. What is something that you want or have on your wish list, to-do list, your manifest list? What do you want to offer up to this group so we can see if we can help you make it happen?
I would love to do more activations out and about with brands. So if anyone wants to hire me to paint something or create an art activation, I am there for it. I also love painting murals. So if anyone wants a mural, please let me know. I haven't done one since last year, but I would love to do more of those as well.
Amazing. Well, it has been such an honor to get to hang out with you today and get to meet you and know you more. Just thank you for the way that you are making art and using art and what you're kind of using your whole creative space to be a stand for. I think it's there's so much depth to all of it, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely to meet you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com where you can find all the links to connect with Ragni and her studio, as well as learn more about Powerful Ladies. Come hang out with us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies, and you can find me and all my socials at caraduffy.com. This episode was produced by Amanda Cass, and our audio engineer is Jordan Duffy. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.